Here.
Tommy Reese,
Here.
Jack Santee,
Here.
Kelly Stewart,
Here.
Ben Thomas.
Here.
Jacob Troutwine.
Here, sorry.
You're good. Rachel Benjamin.
Here.
All right, thank you.
How many voting members is that, Mr. Secretary?
I have it at 16.
16 voting members. So that makes the majority 9 and the 2/3 at 11. The time is now 7:05 p.m. I hereby call the Senate floor to order. Do we have any old business tonight? Seeing none. Does anyone have any points or motions at this time?
I move to bring Senate Bill 2021-10 to the floor.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second? Seeing a second from Senator Perucci. All those in favor of bringing the Senate bill to the floor, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed? Seeing a majority, this bill is now brought to the floor. Is this Director Pearson?
I think it's Vice President Field. It's on the Mars River.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Moyer. Vice President of Finance, you have the floor.
Thank you, Jake. So this bill is to approve the special request you all saw tonight from the UD Mars Rover team. I think they did a really good job of overviewing what their special request is and what those funds are going for. They are requesting a total of $1,500, which breaks down into like 4 different items in 2 different categories. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
I move for previous question.
On a bill of this sort, Senator Moyer, we would need to move to fill in the blank. The speaker would look favorably upon a motion to fill in the blank.
Move to fill in the blank with the VPF's recommendation.
Thank you, Senator Reese. Anything further? Seeing no other suggested dollar amounts, we will vote on Senator Reese's recommendation of the VPF's $1,500. Will everyone raise their hands if they agree with this number at this time, please? All those opposed, please raise your hand. Seeing majority in favor, the amount of $1,500 will appear on this bill. Any further points or motions?
To the previous question.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Seeing a second from Senator Moyer. All those in favor of moving the previous question, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed? We will now move into voting procedure on Senate Bill 2021-10, Mars Rover Team. To vote in favor, please go to participants, click the green yes, the red no for no, and the go slower to abstain. By a vote of 15 to 0 to 1, Senate Bill 2021-10 has passed. Any further points or motions?
Move to bring Senate Bill 2021-08 to the floor.
Thank you, Senator Reese. Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
I second.
Hearing a second from Senator Moyer. All those in favor of bringing Senate Bill 2021-08 to the floor, or Senate Resolution 2020 dash 08 to the floor, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed? Vice President of Finance Fields, floor is yours.
Thank you, Jake. So this is the special request from Flying Solos. You saw their presentation earlier today. They are requesting $500 total for 2 different items. They reviewed those items, so if you have any further questions, I can answer those. But I think it is pretty self-explanatory.
Thank you, Vice President Fields. The speaker look favorably upon a motion to fill in the blank.
I move to fill in the blank.
Thank you, Senator Reese. What is your suggested dollar amount?
VPF's recommendation of 500.
Thank you. Does anyone have any further suggested dollar amounts?
Quick point of information, if you guys don't agree with the full amount, you can propose anywhere from 0 to 500 or anything over that as well.
Thank you for that point, Senator Reese. Seeing no objections to this, we will proceed with a vote on the amount of $500 to appear in this bill. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed, please raise your hands. As this amount has reached majority, the amount of 500 will appear on the bill. Do we have any further points of motions at this time?
I move for previous question.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second? Seeing a second from Senator Hobie. All those in favor of moving the previous question, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed? Moving to voting procedure on Senate Bill 2021-08, Flying Solos. Will all those in favor please click the green yes, the red no, or the go slower to abstain. The speaker asks that everyone who is an eligible voting member please vote. Thank you. By a vote of 14 to 1 to 1, this bill has passed. Any further points or motions?
I move to bring Senate Resolution 2021-08 to the floor.
Thank you, Senator Reese. Do we have a second? Seeing a second from Senator Garcia. All those in favor of bringing Senate Resolution 2021-08 to the floor, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed? Senate Resolution 2021-08 action steps is brought to the floor. Director Pearson, you have the floor.
Okay, so this is the legislation that came as a result of our, I think it was Senate Resolution 2021-04 that said we would lay out some action steps that SGA was going to take. So basically, I encourage everyone to read it because this does set some deadlines and some things that we have to pay attention to. So in the whereas clauses, it lays out our mission, we strive to unify the campus. We do recognize that that the organization and its members have not always actively tried their best in regards to connecting with underrepresented communities. We also apologize to the many students that it has failed by not supporting them, not amplifying their voices, concerns, and stories. We also endeavor to commit to actions that align with the university's efforts to become an anti-racist institution. And then 17, I believe, action steps are laid out. I'm not going to read them all because there's quite a few, but it does touch on some bylaws changes, continuing tough talks, requiring some additional training. Let's see what else. Enforcing the president of SGA's duty to meet with student organizations, commits to a MAC town hall, and it also lays out some more things for public concerns. So that is all I have, so I yield my time.
Thank you, Director Pearson. Any points or motions?
Move to the previous question.
Thank you, Senator Trotwine. Do we have a second? Seeing a second from Director Pearson. All those in favor of moving the previous question, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed, please raise your hands. Senator Brown.
Point of information. I just think like this bill is very groundbreaking for SGA. So I think like we should all talk about it before we just pass it. Because I think on the Senate floor, we really need to address why this bill is getting passed in the first place. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like it's just the same people talking, and I know a lot of people just want to listen, but I do think it's really important that people give their input on this bill right now. I just don't feel comfortable just passing it without like talking about it, because I think we need to talk about it. I think that's part of the problem. So I would recommend, I feel like I've talked about it already. I've kind of helped on this bill anyway. So I would recommend if somebody else would like to give some input or some type of, or I don't know if it's a bill or resolution, but I honestly haven't really, I'm new to SGA, so I haven't like noticed the difference, but I just think it's important to talk about it and talk about the action steps that we're taking before we just pass it. That's why I voted.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Hearing Senator Brown's objection, moving to the previous question, the speaker will extend debate on this. Do we have any points or motions?
Point of information, just to add on to what I said earlier. This is I would consider it a landmark piece of legislation. There's nothing in the last 3-4-ish years that has done or committed us to as many actions as this bill all at once. So I really think if you have the ability to read it, please read it. If you have any questions, please ask. There's multiple people here who worked on this that we can answer questions.
Point of information in resolved number 15 or 16, where it says what's it say? All public meetings are recorded and publicized. Does that include the chats as well?
Director Pearson.
That would be a question for Chris. I'm not sure. I think he's just been uploading them to YouTube, or someone's been uploading them to YouTube. As of now, I don't think it includes the chats, but that's something that could be discussed. Point of information, in the chat, VP Mooney just said that chats are not currently uploaded.
Maybe in the future, if it's easy, we can do that, just because I know our last meeting last Sunday, there were a lot of chats that weren't visible to the public.
Thank you, Senator.
I think, just as a response, I think that gets to the point, we kind of left that open-ended, so the material of the Senate itself is kind of up for determination. If it's pertinent, then I think that's totally fine.
Point of information. I saw Mooney's thing that's saying I'll look into it. All you have to do is hit the 3 little dots in the chat and hit save chat, and I believe it will download. Not really sure how it downloads, like if it's a Word doc or what that is, but I've never really saved it. But it looks as easy as just hitting save chat. So if somebody wanted to do that at the end of a meeting and just upload it as whatever the heck kind of document it downloads as, and just put it as a link on the website right where we post it as well, I think we could do that. So I don't really think it's that hard, but like Ryan said, I think it's open-ended, so the meeting would include the chats if we wanted to put them as well. So
point of information. So I think Natalie a few weeks ago in a report before Senate discussed an idea about educating other organizations on campus on how to become anti-racist as well. I'm wondering if this is still a part of that plan and why this would not be included in the action steps in this resolution that we have here today.
So that we have like a list of things that we've taken from student concerns, internal not issues, but like internal comments that have been raised and stuff like that, that we're kind of like working through in a bunch of different ways. Because we were up against the deadline on this legislation, we don't necessarily have it in here. That is still a goal though, is to be able to reach out to other student organizations, but we wanted to make sure that we were in a place that where we could do that, if that makes sense.
Point of information, for the town hall and the like tough talks that we're planning, will the new director of Campus Unity, will they be in charge of that, or how is that gonna be like? Who's gonna be in charge of making sure they like get implemented?
So my position is the oversight for SGA events and programming. So technically it's at the moment, it's kind of just exec and me. Depending on the timeline for the director of Campus Unity, that person would be involved. Yeah, I think that answers your question.
Thank you. Anything further? Any further points or motions?
I move for previous question.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second? Seeing a second from Senator Hobie. All those in favor of moving the previous question, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed, please raise your hands. Seeing majority in favor of moving to the previous question, we will now move into voting procedure on Senate Resolution 2021-08 action steps. Please go to Participants tab, click the green check mark, red X, or the Go Slower button to abstain. By a vote of 15-0-1, Senate Resolution 2021-08 has passed. Any further points or motions at this time?
I move to bring Senate Resolution 2021-07 to the floor.
Thank you, Senator. Do we have a second? Seeing a second from Senator Veneman. All those in favor of bringing Senate Resolution 2021-07 Michael Lang to the floor, please raise your hands this time. All those opposed? Seeing majority in favor, Senate Resolution 2021-07 is brought to the floor. Director Pearson.
So this resolution is titled In Memory of Michael Lang, a student who passed away on October 22nd. This expresses SGA's condolences to family and friends, condolences to the University of Dayton community, and encourages people to come together to remember the student. I yield my time.
Thank you. Any points or motions?
I move for previous question.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. All those in favor of moving the previous question, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed, please raise your hands. Seeing none opposed, we'll move into voting procedure on Senate Resolution 2021-07 in memory of Michael Lang. Will senators please click the green check mark, the red X, or the go slower button to abstain? By a vote of 15 to 0 to 0, Senate Resolution 2021-07 has passed. Any further points or motions?
I move to bring Senate Bill 2021-09 to the floor.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second? Seeing a second from Senator Thomas, all those in favor of bringing Senate Bill 2021-09 proposed bylaws changes to the floor, please raise your hand at this time. All those opposed? We will now bring Senate Bill 2021-09 proposed changes to the bylaws to the floor. Attorney General Gordon.
All right, so this is going to take a minute. As I go through it, if you see anything you'd like to object to, make a note of it. And when I get done reading through the entire list, we'll go back and check on everything. Does that sound good with everybody? All right. Speaker Jagels, can you share the screen? All right, so here's the first thing we touched on in our IB meeting this week. It adds a responsibility under the president to ensure that executive committee members attend events held by diverse campus constituents. Basically just making sure that there's outreach from the senior most members of SGA. We also removed the President's Council meeting, which is something that's not really ever been used before. It kind of just makes the bylaws longer, and I know people already don't read it, so go on to the next thing. All right, so these are campus unity changes. So this is not entirely what we had the idea of before. With the input of our advisor, Chris Fishpaw, and other IB members, we decided it would be better to just make sure that there's members from diverse groups on campus to be like representatives on the committee. So here it says, the director of Campus Unity shall appoint a committee on Campus Unity, shall guarantee appointments to the committee from student organizations focused on social identity. Student organizations that wish to have representation on the Campus Unity Committee have the right to choose their representative internally and refer their chosen representative to the director of the Campus Unity Committee. Selected representatives must meet all eligibility requirements of SGA membership, shall make contact with all student government or student organizations that had a representative on the committee the year prior to them, or to ask them if they wish to maintain representation on the committee, and then shall seek membership from the broader campus. There's also the addition that the director must have tough talks and similar events like that. Go ahead, scroll down. So we're changing the article title 5 to elections and appointments to put further clarification in. We changed the section where appointments previously was to make a section purely for appointments. That's now section 4. But to go back up to section 3, we added that the elections committee handbook has to be reviewed once per year to ensure equity among possible candidates with the goal to remove entry barriers to join SGA. It's an effort to make SGA more diverse and require that there's an active internal attempt to do so every year. For the appointments, a campus-wide application process shall be open for no less than 3 academic days. And an effort shall be made by the appointing member to inform groups of diverse populations of the opportunities. Committee appointments made by directors shall be made in consultation with the Speaker of the Senate, and then committee appointments made by other committee chairs will be made in consultation with the Vice President. So what this, some of Section 4 is not new. Some of it is to make diversity, and then some of it is also to put checks and balances on the appointment process to make sure that you can't just willy-nilly appoint whoever you want. Scrolling down. Public meetings. So this is for transparency purposes in the C. So just making sure that every meeting is accessible to the public. That would typically be on our YouTube channel, if I'm not correct. And then we changed the order of public meeting. So now instead of having student organizations come and speak for their special requests after public comments and concerns, which can typically take a long time, and then the people can't usually stay for hours on end. So we move that up to right after the keynote speakers so that they can speak, and then if they need to leave, they can do so. Scrolling down. So for that, the chair of issues and bylaws, I believe this is issues and bylaws, has to pick, or no, JRB. So JRB members must be chosen within the first 2 public meetings of the Senate. This is to make sure that JRB is ready to go basically earlier in the academic semesters. Scrolling down. Removal of the levy of fines. So a JRB punishment, which was added in past years, was to levy a fine. This was a recommendation of mine. I personally believe that levying a fine of $100 is sort of unfair to less fortunate people on the socioeconomic scale. So that's just to take that punishment away. JRB and JRAB didn't have a perfect relationship in bylaws before this change. JRAB had to make decisions without seeing any evidence because of complications with confidentiality between the JRB and JRAB and the CSI. So this would allow JRAB members to see evidence from the JRAB or the JRB case that they're hearing an appeal for. Scrolling down. This is the same thing, just clarification. Scrolling down. So this is to ensure that the red highlighted section is to ensure that the SGA advisor or whoever the university must have in the meeting is allowed to be at JRAB hearings and procedures. This is the same thing, clarification. I believe that, nope, not it. Trainings. So that's just, again, article head changing. This is to make sure that old legislation is not held to the certain standards that current legislation is. Old legislation that's not in the bylaws is not usually like applicable to members. So I feel this basically says that if you find old legislation that you want to be held to our standards and upheld, then you should bring it to the chairs of the Issues and Bylaws Committee, and they can help you make it official in the bylaws or constitution. Yes, so this is a requirement for anti-bias training. This is basically just to make sure that all elected and appointed SGA members are trained so that they are educated on their own biases, so that they may be better representatives of their communities. And that is all of the bylaws changes. Did anybody take note on anything they wanted to touch on?
I did make.
Question.
Oh,
At the bottom there, Jiggles, can you scroll all the way down? It's the second to last, yeah, right there. So I think A and B kind of conflict. So in A, you're saying that old legislation does not carry over to New Year's, but then in B, you're saying it can if the chair of Issues and Bylaws says so?
Yeah, so currently it's flip-flopped, and old legislation is all of it is upheld, which it isn't. And the chair of Issues and Bylaws has the ability to say yes or no. So this is basically saying, unless the chair of Issues and Bylaws and like somebody brings it to them and says, hey, I want this to be upheld, the chair of Issues and Bylaws can make it so, but otherwise it won't be. Basically, this doesn't hold us to any old legislation we may not know of or isn't common knowledge. It's basically, it protects our current institutions from the older ones.
So do we need B if we can just put it in the bylaws or constitution?
I think B is necessary clarification. So if you see old legislation that is not being upheld, it basically tells you how to get it that way.
Sounds good.
point of information, I have a question on two things, but one is the same section that Tommy was talking about, so you don't have to move. So I guess my only question is, it says the chair of the Issues and Bylaws Committee. So say the chair doesn't deem it worthy to be put in. Are you saying that person can just stop it right there? Or will it go to a vote of you and the committee, or the issue of chairs of bylaws committee? Like all does that single person have the decision to say, yes, this is important, or no, it's not?
It's just the single chair, and it's already like that. This isn't like putting that power on the chair. This is just clarification of that power. And that doesn't mean that it's flat dead. A senator could propose that change regardless of what the chair says. So make that old change a new change.
Awesome. Thanks for the clarification. I also have another question. In section 4, if you go back up, Jiggles, in subsection C about the appointments. So I had a question here because it says the subsection C, committee appointments made by directors shall be in consultation with the Speaker of the Senate. Isn't the Speaker of the Senate also an appointed position?
Yes. So basically this is to make sure that checks and balances are not all put into one basket. Say if the VP had the ability to check all appointments, well, the VP is basically appointed by the president, and the president makes all the appointments. So this sort of spreads out the checks and balances a little bit. And the Speaker of Senate is appointed by the president, while directors appoint people that are not appointed by the president. So this kind of just separates all of the different appointing, like spiderweb stuff. But
thank you for that.
Yep. Anybody else? Last call, anybody else? All right, I yield my time.
Thank you, Attorney General Gordon. Any further points or motions?
I move for previous question.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second? Seeing a second from Senator Hobie. All those in favor of moving the previous question on Senate Bill 2021-09, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed, please raise your hands. Seeing none opposed, we will now move into voting procedure on Senate Bill 2021-09, proposed changes to the SGA bylaws. Please go into participants, click the green yes, the red no, or the go slower button to abstain. The speaker asks that all voting members please vote. By a vote of 14 to 0 to 1, Senate Bill 2021-09 has passed. Any further points or motions?
I move to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second? Seeing quite a few seconds. All those in favor of adjourning, please raise your hands. All those opposed? Senate floor is adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.